Hi everyone, as Jeremy stated, my name is Dereka Carroll Smith, and I'll explain the Smith later. And I attend Purdue University. I'm a first-year master's student studying meteorology in the severe weather research lab at Purdue University. And I'm going to talk about a year in the life of D. So, next slide. When we left off last year in 2 years ago in San Francisco, I really didn't know where I was going after I graduated from Jackson State. But the following February, I was honored in the Capitol as the Jackson State University Headway student. And the following March, I was actually accepted into Purdue University on fellowship, so that was really exciting for me. And in April, I graduated summa cum laude, and I was also the student marshal, and I cried all the way across the stage. And every picture they have of me is of me crying. Next slide. The following summer, I had the opportunity to go back to SOARS, and I was actually in the same area as Brianna and Jordan. However, we really never saw each other, which is really weird because we stayed in the same apartment complex. I experienced my first wildfire in the Boulder Canyon fire. And I got to do a lot of community service. We got to the opportunity to interact with the elementary school and create some weather story using Flat Stanley, and that's Flat Stanley right there. So that was really fun, and I got the opportunity to finally do research in the area that I was really passionate about, which is societal impacts, risk assessment, and severe weather. Next slide. And I was able to develop a social vulnerability map to Atlantic hurricanes. And it was a little difficult at first because I was so physical science oriented, but I always knew I wanted to understand the societal aspects of it, so I was able to develop a vulnerability assessment using both inland and coastal hazards for hurricanes. Typically, when you look into research, when they study hurricanes, it's all coastal data as far as evacuation decisions, warnings. They mainly focus on the coastal areas, which is, you can understand why, because they're most at risk, but when you have 63% of fatalities occurring inland, you can't ignore the data anymore, and that's what I'm hoping to do to recreate the Hurricane Disaster Risk Index to include inland and coastal hazards. And that's what I'll be hopefully doing my PhD in. But as far as my master's, next slide. I'm sorry. This past December, I got married, and I decided to do it during finals week. Not on purpose. I do not recommend anyone do that. It just sort of happened. I was engaged, and I got tired of being engaged and moving to a new state. It takes a lot of money, and I was like, you know what, in 4 months I'm going to get married, and I got married on 12/12/12. So that was really exciting for me. But in the midst of that, I was writing an NSF grant to study tropical cyclone tornadoes. So I'm hoping to develop a climatology for TCTs and develop a tropical cyclone tornado risk index. And for my thesis research, I'm also going to be using agent-based modeling to look at evacuation decisions and seeing how, I'm going to actually pair risk assessment with meteorology, which is something that really hasn't been done. So all of the tools that I create will